morning and welcome to NYSE Live. I'm Ashley Mastronardi. Equities are fractionally higher as investors prepare for the final day of trade before the July 4th holiday. Investors are digesting the June jobs report, which came out earlier this morning. We're going to dive into those numbers in just a moment. But first, here's what else is on tap this hour. Several NYSE-listed companies are partnering with America 250 ahead of the 4th of July holiday, including Southwest Airlines. A company executive will take us through what went into the company's Independence One airplane and a new alliance that will help people track the aircraft. Speaking of America's 250th anniversary, Sailforth 250 is engineering what it says is the largest international flotilla of tall ships and naval vessels in U.S. history. President Chris O'Brien will join me to tell us what's in store. And at 9:30 Eastern, NYSE-listed Sinda will ring the opening bell to celebrate its recent IPO. The silver mining company's executive chairman will join me from the trading floor to discuss his firm's biggest goals after going public. Well, just over 30 minutes ago, the Bureau of Labor Statistics released the June jobs report. Here's what we learned. The U.S. economy added 57,000 jobs. That is well under economists' estimates of 115,000. Meanwhile, the unemployment rate fell slightly to 4.2%. The BLS also issued a pair of downward revisions for April and May. Employment during those months were a combined 74,000 lower than previously reported. And joining me now to break it all down is Shauna Smith, SVP and Senior Investment Strategist at Global X ETFs. Shauna, welcome.
Hi, Ashley. Thanks for having me.
Great to see you again.
You too.
So what are your biggest takeaways from today's job report?
I don't think we can make too much of just one report. Yes, this was much weaker than expected, more than half or less than half than we had expected to be added to the U.S. economy for the month of June. But take a look at the last 3 months. We did see some downward revisions. We are seeing moderation within the labor force, but not extreme weakness. And I think that is a real concern when we talk about what exactly this economy looks like and how well it's going to be able to hold up, especially in the face of higher than expected maybe inflation at this point. So I don't think we should be too upset about these numbers. Why is the market moving higher this morning? A lot of that is just surrounding Fed expectations, but ultimately that does could potentially push out more talks of a rate hike. Again, you don't want to make too much of just one report. Yes, weaker than expected, much weaker than expected, but one report does not make a trend.
And economists recently joining our show have spoken to the impact the World Cup is having on monthly jobs numbers. What do you make of that?
You know, it's interesting. Goldman was also out with a recent report talking about the fact that they were expecting the World Cup to add about 40,000 jobs to this past month's report, or could potentially. When you take a look at the sectors and where we did see hiring and where we did see layoffs, leisure and hospitality actually very much underperformed. So not necessarily, I wouldn't think at the first glance of these numbers from what I did see, have a material impact to the upside. We will see as we get those revisions and further clarity within this report. But again, maybe not the boost that we had initially maybe anticipated or could have expected because of the World Cup.
All right, the jobs report is, of course, one part of the Fed's dual mandate. On Wednesday, Warsh noted that inflation was too elevated. What do you think we can see when it comes to the Fed's decisions moving forward?
I think it's going to be very interesting to listen to what we hear from Warsh going forward. Obviously, you have this weaker than expected jobs report, but overall, the economy actually looks pretty strong. When you take a look at the recent GDP numbers, very much reassuring the fact that we're actually on solid footing. When you take a look at the recent inflation numbers, yes, hotter than expected, much hotter than what the Fed would ideally like right now, far from that 2% target. But we also have to take a breath right now. When we take a look at the geopolitical unrest, ultimately what the war with Iran, what that is doing to energy prices, and ultimately the follow through that is having on inflation is something to watch. Yes, it is a bit risky at this point, but we don't think it's necessarily an extremely sticky move here to the upside. We wouldn't be surprised if we do see a move lower here over the next several months, if we do see any sort of resolution out of Iran. And then that, of course, is going to ease some of the concerns surrounding inflation.
We're seeing big tech move the markets, as it has been for a while, but especially in recent weeks. What is driving that?
You know, we've seen a bit of a rotation underneath the surface. And I think when you take a look at some of the outperformance in tech, it's not necessarily what had been happening over the last several years. So big tech very much pushed to the side when you take a look at some of the underperformance, relatively speaking, of some of the Mag 7 leaders. And when you take a look at where a lot of that real outperformance was, it was within memory, it was within chip makers. So when you take a look at what that tells us about this next phase of the AI trade, we think it's very much the AI infrastructure layer. We have one fund, ChipX at CHPX, that has outperformed over 80% since the start of the year relative to the S&P. And when we see that type of growth and the type of growth that we're expecting to see here for years or for quarters potentially to come, we still think that that trade has room to move to the upside.
All right, and the Global X NYSE 100 ETF, which your firm has been managing, has been outperforming the market. How has it been doing since it launched earlier this year?
It's been doing very well. It's up. It has been significantly outperforming, up more than 30 to 40%, I believe, since it was launched. And when you take a look at some of that outperformance, a lot of that being driven by some of those chip makers I was just talking about. When you take a look at the growth that we have seen and the excitement surrounding the AI infrastructure trade, memory very much a supply issue when it comes to the AI trade. So we certainly have seen outperformance there of some of those names. You also get exposure to some of those Mag 7 leaders that we had seen outperform as of late. And as more and more people are actually saying that maybe it is time that we are going to see a bit of a turn here and some outperformance from some of those names that have been lagging since the start of the year. So technology very much a force within the market. We still see some opportunity with that going forward.
All right, the Dow just posted its best first half since 2021. Do you think the momentum is going to continue?
Yeah, we think the path to least resistance is still very much to the upside. Obviously, there's a lot of unknown. There's some uncertainty. Markets don't love uncertainty, but I don't think there's too much concern right now just in terms of the inflation print and what exactly that ultimately means for the Fed going forward. We have seen a bit of a recalibration when it comes to what the market is expecting in terms of rate hikes, not extremely or as hawkish as we had initially seen over the last couple of weeks. So we do think the movement that we will likely see going forward is to the upside. We talked about some of the opportunity that we have seen within tech. That's just one part of the equation. When you take a look at cybersecurity, which is also under tech, beaten down names, we think there's a real opportunity to buy some of those names that were caught up with the software selling earlier this year that haven't necessarily rebounded, some attractive pricing there. And then also when you look at other areas of the market that are undervalued, names like within the material sector, when you take a look at battery technology, lithium, copper miners, yes, profits have been very strong, but when you take a look at where they are trading relative to future growth expectations, still very attractively valued at these price levels. So we do see opportunity expanding beyond just tech in this market.
What do you think is driving the market the most right now?
I think there's a lot. I think ultimately it's going to be the Fed going forward. It's going to be inflation. It's going to be geopolitics. The unrest has very much been market moving when you take a look at what exactly those expectations are and the impact that has been having on pricing going forward. I think the other key component, maybe even more important than you can argue Fed policy right now, would also be earnings strength going forward. You talk about the fact that earnings have outperformed. That is why valuation levels aren't as big of a concern, but the bar has been raised very high. So expectations are higher going into this next print that we will be getting here in just a few weeks. So if we do see any sort of underperformance there, that could pose a real risk to the market.
All right, Shauna Smith, SVP and Senior Investment Strategist at Global X ETFs. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks so much.
All right, coming up, Southwest has partnered with America 250 ahead of the 4th of July holiday. You're going to have to look up to see the partnership in action. Find out why next.
It means so much to stand here today on International Women's Day at the New York Stock Exchange. When I look around this room at the leaders, entrepreneurs, advocates, and change makers, I feel something powerful. True power isn't just building something for yourself. It's building something that lifts other women up. That's why I'm using this platform to highlight women-owned small businesses. Gloria once said that dreaming is a form of planning. I dreamed of building something of my own. Today, that dream has become a responsibility. Because the future of finance, leadership, and this economy is unapologetically female. I'm looking forward to ringing the bell and celebrating with you all afterward. Loves it.
really have changed the entire baby food industry.
To all of these little kids who inspire us and make us want to build a better world, we're actually doing it.
You guys have been there since the very beginning. You deserve everything that happens today.
America 250 is as much about where we're going as where we've been. Milestones like this don't just invite reflection. They ask us to rise to the responsibility we've inherited and to carry it forward by fueling growth and opportunity. Warren Buffett put it simply, never bet against America. Because the ability to raise capital in this country, the entrepreneurship, the drive, and the innovation are truly second to none.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. The New York Stock Exchange is the exclusive stock exchange partner for America 250, and several of its more than 2,400 listed companies are teaming up with the bipartisan movement, including Southwest Airlines. Joining me now is Laura Nieto, Managing Director of Corporate Responsibility for Southwest Airlines. Laura, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you so much for having me.
Can you share more about this partnership with America 250? How did it come about for Southwest?
Absolutely. America is celebrating its 250th anniversary this year, and what a historical milestone. But I think a great reminder is around the values our nation was founded on. Freedom, opportunity, connection, and those ideals are such a part of Southwest Airlines from the very beginning. You know, in 1971, we set out to democratize the skies and give America the freedom to fly. And 55 years later, we are doing the same thing. We're connecting people to what's important in their lives, and that includes bringing students to connect to college campuses, uniting families, bringing service members home. And so we're just excited to be a part of this celebration. And it's those shared ideals that make this partnership so exciting.
And I understand that as part of this historic celebration, Southwest unveiled its Independence One livery. How did this come about?
Yes, well, we wanted to bring the celebration to the skies. And when we announced this partnership, our CEO and our leadership knew we wanted to do something special and do something big. And Independence One was born. And it was designed by one of our employees. And it is symbolic of some of the nation's, with a nod to the nation's symbols. It is a beautiful aircraft, Independence One, that's got red, white, and blue throughout the aircraft from nose to tail. It's got 1776 with a nod to our nation's founding. It's got the theme Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness, which comes from our Declaration of Independence. You've got the 13 stars across the fuselage that represent the original 13 colonies. And we also have the circle of stars on the engine cowlings that represent the original Betsy Ross flag. And to top it all off, the tail number is 1776. So it's just an incredible nod to this historical anniversary and to the values and patriotism that Southwest Airlines believes in.
Is it part of your regular fleet? How can you fly on it?
Yes, it is. It has been introduced into our fleet. It is a specialty livery. And earlier this week, we announced a partnership with FlightAware. And we've had such enthusiastic response from our employees, from our customers and aviation enthusiasts who want to know how can they spot Independence One. And if you go to FlightAware and enter the tail number N1776R, you can find and follow its path across the country. So whether you're flying us and might be on the aircraft or just spotting from the ground, it's a great way to get in on the fun and see Independence One as it travels across the country.
And we're seeing in our video now the plane getting all dressed up, and you also, it's an exciting time. You also have trading cards that you recently debuted.
Yes, we do. Earlier this week, we debuted a trio of cards, and I've got one to show. We have 3 aircraft in the livery, and we've got Freedom One, Liberty One, and now Independence One. So when customers are flying across the system, they can reach out to one of our pilots and see if they might be able to score 1, 2, or all 3 of these collectible cards. It's really a lot of fun, and it's an opportunity for our customers to get in on all the action.
And Southwest, I understand, is also participating in the America Gives initiative, which was launched by America 250. What is your participation like in that?
Yes, Southwest Airlines is the official airline of America Gives, and it's really an effort to have 2026 be the year for the largest number of volunteer hours recorded. And Southwest Airlines launched a $250,000 grant for our employees to engage in the communities where they live and work. And something special about it is a grant that is team-oriented. So when our employees volunteer in teams of 5 or more, that organization is eligible to receive a $1,000 grant. But I think what makes it so special is when people volunteer together, it truly brings out the best in each other and has a ripple effect in the communities that we serve.
Is Southwest doing anything else for 4th of July?
Yes, we are. We actually have a fun story to share. Our heart is to make moments that matter for our customers, and we had a mom reach out to us to share a story about her son, Huck, who creates hero bracelets for our first responders. He makes them and then delivers them to police stations and firehouses. We partnered with America 250, and Huck and his family will be our special guest at the 4th of July ball drop taking place in Times Square this weekend. And he is actually had a dream to fly on Independence 1, so we are flying him into the city on Independence 1. First responders will be honored over the weekend, and he'll have an opportunity to spread kindness by sharing his bracelets. So it's just really an exciting time to be celebrating all the 4th of July activities and our nation's birthday.
All right, great overview. Laura Nieto, Managing Director of Corporate Responsibility at Southwest Airlines. Thank you so much for joining us on NYSE Live.
Thank you so much for having me.
Coming up, a historic parade will take place on the Hudson River on the 4th of July. The organization behind the event is going to join us to share details. That's up next.
I never thought as a driver I would be opening and ringing the bell at the stock exchange in New York.
Thanks to Toyota, we've been able to have the first Formula One team to do anything like that.
To be standing here, there's so much history in this place. It's probably going to stick forever in our mind, having the banners on the front there.
Thank you very much, TGR and Toyota Motor Corporation, for this opportunity.
This is our Super Bowl. It's incredible. We have built this company. It started in 1894, and it is here today. This is a rare, purpose-driven company. And you can see the faces out there. They make this company great. It is about the people and delivering beautiful brands.
I want to welcome you here to the Circle of Honor dinner.
I always love to see the flag on our facade. It reminds us of why we are all here. Those 12 folks that are with us today, which are Medal of Honor recipients, is because of your defense of freedom and the ideals of America that we are able to do what we do today.
These men embody an unbroken line of courage, a living bridge between past and present, reflecting the enduring spirit of our nation across nearly 250 years.
Tonight, we are mindful of that courage represented in this room, the men who have seen the worst of war and who in turn reveal the best of us.
The tall ships, graceful and dignified, sailed proudly down the harbor, a spectacle which perhaps will not be duplicated for another 100 years. one thing is certain, America certainly knows how to throw itself a birthday party.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. Sailforth 250's engineering what it says is the largest international flotilla of tall ships and naval vessels in U.S. history. And it's going to be taking place right here in New York City. Joining me now is Chris O'Brien, president of Sailforth 250. Chris, welcome.
It is great to be here. It's a year and a day. We rang the opening bell at New York Stock Exchange, marking the 1 year out moment to July 4th. So we're right on the doorstep of what's going to be an incredible moment for the nation and for New York.
So glad to have you back. So your team has billed this as the greatest celebration in our nation's history. Can you take us through what's on deck this weekend?
Well, it's going to be amazing. We have ships coming from around the world. So the tall ships are forming up actually right now, just south of New York City, to prepare for the July 4th parade of tall ships. The U.S. Navy and the international naval vessels are lining up in the harbor starting today and tomorrow for an international naval review. And the Blue Angels and 200 other aircraft are forming up for what's going to be the biggest aerial review in U.S. history that's going to fly over top of the parade of tall ships on July 4th. It's just going to be incredibly amazing. And then these ships will dock and they'll be open for free public touring. So it's just going to be a coming together moment from our friends around the world and for us here in America to really kind of look and reflect on this amazing milestone.
And as we mentioned, the celebration is headlined by the Tall Ships Parade here in New York City on Saturday. Can you quantify the sheer size of that event?
Yeah, well, this will be the largest gathering of its kind ever. So we're going to have some 40 plus tall ships, some 40 plus naval vessels, so more than 80 vessels, 46 nations, 200 aircraft. It's really extraordinary. So, we're building on the historic event that happened here for America's bicentennial. And so we're tracking that we are the largest event of this kind ever in history. And so it's going to be an incredible moment. We're expecting 20,000 sailors from here in America and around the world to be coming together right here in New York City and the Port of New York and New Jersey. It's just going to be an amazing moment.
Great. And as you mentioned, you joined us here on NYSE Live last year to preview the celebration. How long did it take you and your team to put all of the logistics together?
It's incredible. Believe it or not, we've been working on this for 6 years, a little more than 6 years. We had our first meeting with the international naval attachés in April of 2020. And so these events like this with so many nations and their navies involved takes an incredible lead time to get all the schedules aligned and all the logistical planning put in place. And so, 6 years, and then, but the real planning has been really over the last 2 years has been intense with our partners, the U.S. Coast Guard, U.S. Navy, NYPD, FDNY, State of New York, State of New Jersey. You can imagine the list just goes on. So all these agencies coming together to make this happen really have been at it for quite a long time.
Yes, and what were some of the biggest logistical challenges you and your team had to overcome during the preparation?
Well, besides organizing these fleets from around the world, which in itself is a complex problem, here in New York, we had to work to develop infrastructure for the ships to be able to dock. A lot of the shipping has moved out of New York, and so the pier fronts aren't ready to accept ships the way they used to be. And so we worked with our city partners and others. We had to raise a lot of money to create temporary arrangements for the ships to actually be able to dock. We actually built an 800-foot temporary pier up by Intrepid here in Manhattan.
And what is something our viewers should know about this weekend's festivities that they may not have known previously?
Well, it's this gathering, and it's especially it's a special treat here in New York. Every community in New York from around the world has a ship that's coming. So there is a little piece of home in every one of these ships. They're official training vessels for their navies, but they're international goodwill ambassadors. So this is really a moment to come together come out, see the ships. They're going to be free, open to the public the 5th, 6th, and 7th of July. And so we're just asking people to stay cool out there. It's going to be a little bit warm. Drink lots of water, but come down and enjoy the ships and come out on July 4th and see the parade. It's going to be a spectacle, and it's an appropriate marker for America's 250th, our semi-quincentennial. These milestones only come once in a generation, so we're really looking forward to bringing this generation in to see what's happening here and to be part of a historic event for the nation.
And Chris, we have to go, but can you tell us how people can find out more?
Yeah, go to sailforth.org, SAIL, the number 4th.org. Find all the information there, where to go, how to see the ships. We also have a number of media partners, Wall Street Journal and New York Post, and be putting out information. And the events will be televised on NBC, starting 7 in the morning till 1 p.m. on July 4th. So you'll be able to tune in if you're not able to be here in person, and we encourage that because it's going to be a terrific moment.
Wonderful. Chris O'Brien, president of Sailforth 250. So great to have you back. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thanks, you too. Great to be here.
As we approach America's 250th birthday, let's look back at a moment in U.S. history intertwined with the New York Stock Exchange. The financial district's most popular statue is probably Arturo de Modica's Charging Bull at the Bowling Green, but there are many other works around the neighborhood. Two are along the Broad Street, the statue of George Washington at Federal Hall and the NYSE's pediment sculpture, Integrity Protecting the Works of Man. These two works both have the same sculptor, John Quincy Adams Ward. No relation to the president. Ward was considered a powerhouse artist in Reconstruction America. His statue of Washington at Federal Hall was unveiled in 1883 on the centennial of Continental troops entering New York at the end of the Revolutionary War. The NYSE's pediment sculpture was unveiled 20 years later when the Modern Exchange opened in 1903. We'll see you on the other side of the break.
We're really excited to be here. There has never been an easier time to launch an ETF, but a harder time to actually succeed in growing an ETF. And we are firm believers in the only way that you can do that is through strong partnership and alignment. And let's keep marching, team, on our way to 100 billion and beyond. Technology is not a single exchange. Technology is not a single index. Technology is ubiquitous. It's an ecosystem. It's something that touches our everyday lives.
Today is indeed a very special milestone for Oceana Gold. This is a company that 36 years ago started in an office in New Zealand with one mine. It's now a global company with 4 assets in 3 different countries.
You and your team have built something remarkable, which is a global gold and copper producer, and the track record that you've created, things that we just don't really see often. So congratulations on all the work. Today's listing provides the next logical step and the next exciting step in your company's future.
It's an exciting morning for Sinda Silver Mining Company based in Mexico. They rang the bell to celebrate their recent IPO. I will be speaking with their executive chairman after later in the show. The U.S. stock market is officially open for trade, and the June jobs report is taking center stage. Joining me now is Eric Criscolo, market strategist here at the New York Stock Exchange. Eric, welcome.
Good morning. Thank you. Happy to be here.
So happy to have you. So June jobs came in way under expectations. What are your takeaways?
It was a softer print, like you said. There, as in always in these reports, there's puts and takes, but it was definitely a weaker than expected report overall. A lot of the internal numbers were softer as well. The unemployment rate did tick down, but a lot of that is due to the participation rate. So all in all, weaker report, and you saw the reaction in the Treasury market specifically. The 2-year yield fell at one point. I think it was down about 8 basis points. So that's a rather sharp drop in the yield, and basically maybe a little reconfiguration of, the market was thinking 1, maybe 2 rate hikes this year. Maybe you get that dialed back a little bit to 0 to 1 hike, after everything kind of settles in. But the S&P 500, the stock market, they kind of liked what they saw when the Treasury yields came in. Putting on top of that, the oil prices continuing to come in. That's generally, those two things are good for stocks, and that's why you saw the S&P kind of rally into after that print hit.
We also saw downward revisions. How are these numbers being gathered, and why do you think we see these corrections?
Yeah, the government agencies have been dealing with this issue for a while now, and this is basically. These are basically surveys that are put out to the public in the hopes that they basically respond to them, saying, am I employed, am I not employed, and all these other metrics. And when the survey is, it's not an exact science. They have to have people, fill them out, send them back, and so that. Participation in the survey in the survey itself from just the broader population, that participation has declined over the years. So it gets harder and harder to get, meaningfully good numbers at the beginning. And then as more data comes in, they have to go back and refine what they've already reported. And that's why you see those big numbers kind of change. A lot of it has really moved, been a problem since COVID.
All right, a big market mover we've seen recently has been sentiment in the tech sector. What do you believe is behind it?
Once again, AI just continues to dominate the headlines. Yesterday, it was Meta's announcement that they would start selling excess capacity that they've built up in their AI ventures. They were going to sell excess compute out to third-party customers. It's basically playing into both bulls and bear narratives. The bears are saying there's too much compute capacity. Companies are never going to use it. They've overbuilt. Prices are going to collapse. The AI trade is dwindling. So that kind of played into that narrative. But on the other side, the bulls are saying, listen, Meta is still going to be spending a ton of money. They still have a huge initiative to build out AI, and so this is just smart business. If they have a little excess compute while they ramp up everything, why not get some revenue out of it? So you saw that kind of narrative play out yesterday, and also with second half coming, a lot of the momentum names, the memory names, the chip names that really got bid up in the first half. As the second half rolled in, you saw those trades kind of come off, and then the laggards, some of the healthcare names, some of the financials, some of the laggards in the tech sector, those names were bid up yesterday. So there was kind of a rotation from leaders to laggards, from momentum to the ones that were left behind as the calendar flipped. A lot of things going on.
All right, investors are also paying attention, obviously, to the latest developments in the Middle East. ICE Brent crude was trading as low as $70 a barrel earlier today. Do you think major market movement is only going to come once a deal is signed?
I don't know. I mean, oil has really come down significantly from its highs, and it continues to fall even today. So we're seeing 1.5%, 2% gains lower, kind of on a daily basis. If we break 70, which we're right on the cusp of, like you said, that's going to be a very interesting psychological level for the market. I believe we're still in backwardation, so the futures are still priced a little higher than the front end of the curve is still priced a little higher than the back end. So we're still kind of seeing some of the supply-demand dynamics play out in the market. But, oil has really come down a lot, and we'll probably start to see that flow into numbers like the CPI going forward. So that's also being priced into the market as well. I don't know if we need a deal necessarily, because I don't know if we're going to get one anytime soon based on what's happening, with the back and forth. But I think just as long as, crude continues to kind of settle in this area, that's pretty solid for equities in general.
All right, we're in the second half of the year. What storylines are you going to be focusing on most closely?
Earnings season is going to be really interesting, especially this quarter, because you have that AI trade kind of now in more of question after Meta's announcement, and the overarching question is, do these companies that have reported enormous gains in their earnings, in their revenue, can they continue to put up those gains, but also, can they continue to beat expectations by a wide margin? It's going to be really difficult, I think. And so you could see, with expectations not being beat as much, with earnings growth kind of coming in off of very high numbers, only natural, you could kind of see investors continue to rotate out of those high-flying momentum names, the ones that were growing exponentially, Micron, et cetera. You could see investors kind of take money out of those names and into other areas of the market, which have been holding up relatively well. So we could see a little bit more of the rotation trade, but earnings season is going to be really important for that.
All right, Eric Criscolo, market strategist at the New York Stock Exchange. Thanks for joining us.
Always a pleasure. Happy 4th.
Happy 4th. America's 250. Still to come, artificial intelligence was driving the conversation at the All-In Liquidity Summit. In fact, one executive told our Christian Scholler that we're only in the first inning of the AI revolution. We're going to bring you that conversation. Elsewhere, the 23rd Annual Energy Infrastructure CEO and Investor Conference took place in Florida. This past spring, I was on the scene and spoke with a pair of executives from NYSE-listed Phillips 66 about the state of energy security. And later, I'm going to head down to the trading floor and speak with Sinda's executive chairman about why he felt now is the perfect time to take his company public on the New York Stock Exchange. Stick around.
I'm very excited to welcome you here to a special morning as we celebrate 250 years of American business.
Warren Buffett coined "Never bet against America" because the innovation, the entrepreneurship, the drive, the capital that can be raised in this country is second to none.
America 250 is as much about the future as it is the past. I want as many Americans as possible to still feel like this is the land of opportunity.
The NYSE is a storytelling powerhouse. We are building a modern media network. Partnership can be a multiplier. We're spanning industries. We're creating more connections. Partnership built together is right here. And we are the backdrop for transformative storytelling. Because on 11 Wall Street, this is exactly where partnership becomes progress.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. The NYSE recently sponsored the All-In Podcast Liquidity Summit in Napa Valley, which not only brought together some of the biggest names across the investment landscape, but key decision makers as well. Our Kristen Scholler was there and spoke with notable attendees like DDN's Vice Chair, Mohsin Moazzami. He assessed where AI currently stands in terms of its evolution. Check it out.
We are at the very first inning of this AI revolution, and there is no end in sight. You know, again, I'm old. I've been around for a long time. Look at all the gray hair. I was part of the internet build out because I was an executive at Cisco back then. So I've seen internet build out. I've seen the mobility revolution, and now I'm seeing the AI revolution. I've never seen anything like this in terms of the sheer appetite for CapEx investment and again, with the total capability to transform everyone's life.
So it seems like you feel confident about the state of liquidity.
100% confident because we're at the trenches. At DDN, we face all the data center builders, providers, all the people who are deploying massive AI infrastructure. As such, you know, we're in the thick of it, and I just don't see an end to the appetite for investment.
Tell me what you're doing at DDN.
I'm the vice chairman of DDN, and first and foremost, DDN is at the data layer of AI. It's to AI data. It is what NVIDIA GPUs are to compute. And we manage the intelligence layer and basically the storage layer of the AI data stack. At DDN, my job is to help the senior management, the founders, other senior management, with some of the more strategic topics, ranging from large customer pursuits to fundraising and strategic alignment with strategic partners in the industry and so on. So I'm there to assist.
And in terms of the uniqueness that DDN offers in the marketplace, how would you describe it?
Again, the value from this AI infrastructure is derived by operationalizing the data infrastructure. And DDN plays a critical role in bringing that data to life. You know, people make decisions based on data, not based on how much compute I have or how much power I have. I need data, and I need it available and accessible and intelligent when I need it to make critical decisions. And DDN is the enabling factor for that.
DDN is a private company, correct?
Private company.
Yes, if I'm wrong.
Blackstone backed.
Yes.
The only external entity on the cap table is Blackstone. But other than that, it's private and growing. And profitable.
Where is DDN in its growth journey?
Ironic that you asked that question. We just closed a record quarter in the history of the company.
Congratulations.
And we're on our way to close a record year in 2026 in the history of the company, which is way north of $1 billion in sales.
Wow. So where do you want to take the company from here? Where do you want to see it go?
Grow, deploy, hand in hand with all the key players from neoclouds to hyperscalers to all the enterprises. You know, the enterprise adoption of AI, the companies like JP Morgan, Procter & Gamble, is just beginning. And the reason it hasn't begun yet because they had to understand the implications for their own data. So now data is going to play a critical role in the enterprise adoption. So, you know, NYSE and JP Morgan and Procter & Gamble's of the world can start adopting. And DDN can be a significant player in that domain, which is, just highlights the potential for growth.
Thanks, Mohsin Moazzami and Kristen Scholler for that interview. Meanwhile, I was recently in Aventura, Florida, the 23rd Annual Energy Infrastructure CEO and Investor Conference. Leaders from across the energy sector gathered to discuss emerging themes ranging from AI power demand to energy security. That includes NYSE-listed Phillips 66, a company many Americans hitting the road for the 4th of July will see on their road trips. I spoke with Don Baldridge, EVO of Midstream Chemicals, as well as Sean Maher, VP of Investor Relations and Chief Economist, about the work the firm is doing. Take a look.
You think about the crude and natural gas that gets produced. We take those and create finished products that you and I use every day, like gasoline, jet fuel, diesel, propane. And we do that, and we talk about it in terms of a value chain, an integrated value chain that goes from the wellhead, where the hydrocarbons are produced, to the market. And we do that through our pipelines and through our refineries and processing plants. There we create those finished products, deliver them on pipelines and terminals to customers, and that is the essence of the energy that we provide to our customers. So think about our customers. They are producers that are drilling the wells. We service them by taking that product and putting it into our pipelines and moving it through our system. But then our customers are also folks like you and me who are using the gasoline, the jet fuel, the diesel, those products. That is the energy value chain that Phillips 66 operates in.
And Sean, we've seen a lot of geopolitical activity in 2026 with the conflict in Iran, oil prices spiking. How has this impacted business?
So I think it's done a lot of things in terms of highlighting the importance of domestic energy infrastructure and domestic energy hydrocarbons. And as we look at what's transpired over the course of the last really 8 months, because we often forget that, starting of the year, we removed Maduro from power in Venezuela, which brought a lot of Venezuelan crude oil into the marketplace. What that created a disruption in trade flows. And then with the conflict in the Middle East, it's just highlighted how important that domestic resource is, but also the importance of the U.S. in terms of delivering that product into the global economy. So when you reposition global freight, when you reposition global markets, it creates risks and it creates things that cause a concern for security of supply. And that's, I think, from our perspective, it's really highlighted the importance of what we do day in and day out to provide energy and improve lives.
And speaking of energy security, that's an issue that's come up, and also affordability. How does Phillips 66 plan to deliver on both of those areas?
Yeah, it's a great question. So we are really well positioned because when you think about the integrated energy value chain, you've got the refining, which is, as Don mentioned, the transportation fuels, but then you've also got the natural gas liquids, which are petrochemical feedstocks, residential heating and cooking. But what we're endowed with in the US and North America with Canada is very low cost, reliable hydrocarbons, liquid hydrocarbons. And we have the ability to take those hydrocarbons, process them, because we've got a very complex refining network, we've got a very complex infrastructure network that frankly can't be replicated. And so we take these hydrocarbons, we process them, refine them, and we deliver that end product to the consumer, not only domestically, but internationally. So we are very well positioned, and we process and trade more than 6 million barrels a day globally of liquid hydrocarbons around the world. And so we really take to heart that message of taking that low cost, reliable feedstock and delivering that reliable product to the consumers.
Sean just mentioned how what your output is. Do you see that increasing in the next 10 years? And in order to maintain that, what areas are you focused on in the country or the world?
Sure. Within the U.S., we are blessed with an abundance of resource. And so we do see the liquid production continuing to grow, especially in areas like the Permian Basin. And when you look at Phillips 66 in our footprint, our core operating area is in that central U.S. down through the Gulf Coast. And that's really where we have this integrated value chain from the wellhead all the way to the market. We have pipelines, processing plants, the refineries complex. All of that is an integrated network. And the activity that we are doing is continuing to aggregate that supply, serve our customers, bring that supply into our infrastructure, and create those finished products that we use every day, and feeds the downstream markets. That's a lot of what we're focused on. And when you think about the strategy around that, it's about continuing to extend that value chain. So examples like a Western Gateway pipeline, where we're developing a new pipeline to go from Borger, Texas, all the way to Phoenix, Arizona, to create this transportation network for fuel to get from the cost competitive areas of the central U.S. and deliver them into the Western US, where there's a growing need for reliable, secure supply. Those are the type of projects and the type of activities where we extend our value chain to be able to meet our customer needs.
Sean, would you like to add anything?
I would just say that your point about growth is important because the U.S. has been the primary driver of liquid hydrocarbon growth, energy supply growth globally for the better part of the last 15 years. And we think about our business and how we fit into that. We're not the ones drilling the wells. We're just taking that low value product and delivering it into the consumer. So as long as the U.S. continues to be the source of a significant portion of liquid hydrocarbons for the global consumer, then that volumetric push is going to help provide us with a reliable, durable based business that is going to benefit investors over time through ratable, reliable cash flows. So it's an exciting time for the industry because for a long time the industry was not appreciated for what it did in terms of enabling that economic growth that the rest of the world relies on.
16 years ago, an anonymous person released an idea onto the internet. No identity, no institution behind it, no marketing strategy. It was just a white paper and a challenge to everything we thought about money. What if money were open instead of closed? What if it belonged to everyone instead of being controlled by a few? Bitcoin survived every attempt to kill it because the idea itself was stronger than the forces that tried to stop it. And now, today, inside one of the most iconic institutions in the world of finance, we honor a creator who never asked for credit, never stood in front of cameras, and ultimately stepped away so that the idea could stand on its own. Satoshi Nakamoto.
Why are we here? Because Magnum Ice Cream Company is an ambitious company. We're all about growth. And for growth, you need people and you need to have belief that focus on only ice cream will propel this business. These folks here in the room wake up every morning thinking about ice cream and they go to bed thinking about ice cream, and that's why it will be a successful company that delights the world with unbelievable products.
Welcome back to NYSE Live. Silver exploration company Sinda rang the opening bell earlier in the show. Their executive chairman, Daniel Munoz Quintanilla, joins me on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange to discuss the company and its latest IPO. Daniel, welcome.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Very excited to be here.
So what was it like for you to ring the opening bell this morning?
Well, just incredible to reach this goal, but it just starts the new chapter of the company with a publicly listed company, as a publicly listed company, so very excited.
So tell me, you say it's a new chapter. Tell me the story of Sinda. When did it start? How did you get here? And why was now the time to go public?
Absolutely. It's fascinating, the story, because this is the largest silver discovery in the world. It is located within the Guanajuato region in Mexico. Guanajuato is one of the most prolific mining districts in the world. So all silver roads lead to Mexico. So largest silver producer country in the world. This deposit wasn't discovered earlier because it was buried under 400 meters of clay. We discovered it in 2016. We were sponsored by the Electrum Group, and we've managed to get a lot of drilling and the largest resources in the world with very high grade. That means great quality. And we put together what I consider, and we consider the A team within the mining industry to make this a reality and to our shareholders.
And I understand you're working on one of the largest silver projects in the world. Can you take us through that?
Sure, absolutely. So this is one of the largest discoveries in a generation. What we've been doing and what we'll use with the user process is drill in order to turn this into one of the largest silver mines in the world. Silver, as you know, is used for electrifying the world. It's the largest or the best conductor of electricity. It's in a very structural supply deficit, and we are just totally committed to making this as accretive and creating the value for our shareholders that they trusted us with this IPO.
And can you talk about your efforts to advance the green energy transition?
Absolutely. Well, silver is embedded within all the green energy transition. It is the most important metal in solar panels. So with all the semiconductors, with AI and solar panels, it's a key ingredient because it's the best conductor of electricity and the most reflective metal in the world.
What are you seeing when it comes to demand for silver?
Well, we keep on seeing a lot of demand. So silver has become a critical mineral for China and for the United States. It has been put as a strategic pillar for the Mexican economy. So Mexico has turned silver and mining into a critical mineral and key part of the development of the economy. So we are totally committed and believe in the fundamentals of silver long term.
And what is your track record of bringing projects from exploration to profit?
Excellent question. So I've been 20 years in mining in Mexico and 30 years in business. We have been developing all kinds of sizes of projects in a long time throughout my career. Now in this time, I'm sponsored and backed by the Electrum Group of Dr. Thomas Kaplan, which has an incredible track record of delivering successes. We just recently, as recent as last month, we listed Sunshine Silver in this exchange as well. And it just debuted that it's in Idaho, and it's again another huge success story. So good track record, I think.
What does it feel like to take a company public, and what is next for Sinda?
Sure. Well, the company public, we've been working at it for 10 years, 5 years myself, developing it with the best team. So this was the right market conditions. We are totally committed to the long term here in Sinda. It is the first day of trading today, so, well, this week. And the next for Sinda is really develop. So we have the trust that shareholders have put in ourselves. We want to create this, a compelling upside opportunity and unlock all the value that Sinda has to them.
All right, Daniel Muñoz Quintanilla, Executive Chairman of Sinda, thank you so much for joining us at the New York Stock Exchange, and congratulations on your moment.
Well, thank you so much.
All right, that is going to do it for us on NYSE Live. We are gearing up for America's 250th birthday this weekend on Saturday, July 4th. We're not on tomorrow. We'll see you Monday.
Welcome to the public market.
The New York Stock Exchange is a cathedral of the capital markets. So there are a few places more fitting to consider the future of American financial system than this one.
So thrilled for this next chapter to begin today with all of you in this historic building.
The day we went public, it was the most bizarre day of my life. He said, yesterday, Shake Shack was the most beloved hamburger company in the entire country. Today, it's going to be the most reviled stock. He said, you guys are never going to grow into your $46 valuation. How many Shacks did we have 10 years ago? 31 Shacks. And did I not just hear Rob say that we're going to have 1,500 Shacks? So yes, we grew into that $46. It's all because of you guys. I'm so proud of you, every one of you. You work so hard to make so many people happy, and you make your communities better. What more could you ask for?